What is going on, everybody in Max Squad? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have a speed test between the Moto G Power and the Moto G7 Power. Stay tuned. With the G Power on the left side here, you can see that we have the Snapdragon 665 inside of this device. It's an octa-core chipset that is clocked at 2.02 gigahertz, or in other words, it's 2 gigahertz. And it has the Adreno 610 GPU. The screen itself is full HD, it's upgraded from last year there. And you have 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of internal storage. And the device is gonna be running Android 10 with security patch of February 1st, 2020. Now with the G7 Power here on the right side, you can see that we got the Snapdragon 632 inside this device. Now although it says 636, do not be fooled, it is a 632. It's an octa-core chipset as well that is clocked at 1.8 gigahertz with the Adreno 506 inside of this device. It's a 720p display, which is definitely not as high resolution as the G Power, but you get 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of internal storage. And the device is going to be running Android 9 with security patch of February 1st, 2020. So as far as the on-paper test here, I'm going to have to give it to the Moto G Power. It has a bit more RAM, a bit more storage, and the CPU is a bit faster than the 632 inside of the G7 Power. So of course, it was pretty much going to be an easy W for the G Power. So as of right now, we have 1 for the G Power and 0 for the G7 Power. Let's get to the next part of the test. So with this next part of the speed test here, what I'm going to be doing is the application opening and RAM management test. So literally all I'm going to do is just be opening several different applications on each device to see which is going to open up the application faster. And then afterwards, I test the RAM to see which device can hold the applications that I open better in the background. So the first application I'm going to open up here is Play Store. So 3, 2, 1. Looks like that goes to the G7 Power. I feel like the G7 Power got that one. And the next application we're going to open up here is YouTube. So 3, 2, 1. And that goes to the G Power. And the next application I'm going to open up here is Amazon. So 3, 2, 1. And that goes to the Moto G Power. And the next application we're going to open up here is Play Store. So 3, 2, 1. That goes to the Moto G Power. The next application we're going to open up here is Facebook. So 3, 2, 1. That goes to the G Power. By the way, keep in mind, when I say G Power, I'm referring to the new phone. If I mean the G7 Power, that's exactly what I'll say. The next application we're going to open up here is Instagram. So 3, 2, 1. That was kind of a tie. And the next application we're going to open up here is Twitter. So 3, 2, 1. That goes to the Moto G Power. And so the next application we're going to open up here is Twitch. So 3, 2, 1. That goes to the G Power. And the next application we're going to open up here is Reddit. So 3, 2, 1. That goes to the Moto G Power. And the final application we're going to open up here is Spotify. So 3, 2, 1. That goes to the Moto G Power. So as you saw there, the Moto G Power was definitely opening up applications faster than the G7 Power. In comparison, the 665 to the 632 was definitely an upgrade. So I'm not too surprised that the applications were open faster on the G Power. Being that it has a little bit more RAM, maybe it's going to hold the applications better in the background too. Let's go ahead and find out. Play Store, held by both. YouTube, held by both. Amazon, held by both. Wait, was that a refresh? I'm not sure. Best Buy, held by both. Facebook, held by both. Instagram, I'll give that a tie. Both. Twitch, held by the G7 Power. Reddit, held by the G7 Power. Spotify, held by both. So as far as which phone held the applications better in the background, that would probably be a little inconclusive for me because maybe I should have opened up a few more applications for it to, have a little bit of a struggle. But it looks to me like the G Power is gonna have to take this W. It opened up more applications. It has more RAM. Things are a little bit more smooth. It's not as much reload. I don't know if you guys saw it in the video, but trust me, the performance is better on the G Power. So as of right now, we have to go ahead and give it to the G Power. It currently has a score of 2, and the G7 Power has a score of 0. Let's get to the next part. So with this next part of the speed test here, what I'm going to be discussing are the Geekbench numbers and the ATUTU benchmark numbers, or basically the scores for each device. Now on both devices, I'm able to run Geekbench 5. And so you can see with the G Power, I got a single core score of 311 and a multi-core score of 1,369. While on the G7 Power, I got a single core score of 268 and a multi-core score of 1,122. So not a significant difference when it comes to looking at the numbers here in Geekbench, but definitely an improvement from last year here. A few hundred points difference on a Geekbench 5 test, if you ask me, is a pretty big difference. Now with the ATUTU benchmark numbers, you can see that on the G Power, we got a score of 166,325. And on the G7 Power, we got a score of 121,148. Now, this is about how much is that? About a 45,000? Yeah, 45,000 point difference. So you can definitely see on the Geekbench here and on the ATUTU that the G Power is definitely faster on test, performance, all that stuff. It's faster than the G7 Power without any question. 3 is the score for the G Power as of right now, and 0 is for the G7 Power. So in real world competition, getting 3 out of 5 is usually means that you're gonna win, regardless of the fact. It doesn't matter what happened with the next 2 contests. So for entertainment purposes, we're gonna continue and see which device can install applications faster and see which one can power off and power back on. So with this next part of the speed test here, what I'm gonna be doing is installing several of the top applications here in the Play Store here, to be exact, 3. And we're gonna see which device can install the applications faster. Now, whichever device installs 2 of the 3 faster than the other automatically wins this part of the speed test. And so the first application we're going to install here is House Party. So let's get that started in 3, 2, 1. Now both devices are on the same Wi-Fi network, so I don't think any funny business is going on here. The G7 Power is out to a fast start. It's already downloading. It's already installing House Party, while the G Power here on the left is struggling for some particular reason. Not sure what's going on, but the G7 Power takes this one. And the next application we're going to install here is Wish. So let's get that started in 3, 2, 1. All right, let's see what happens here. The G7 Power is definitely out to a head start once again, while the G Power is struggling. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I'm not giving any breaks here. You're struggling, and that's a loss. Yeah, and the G7 Power installed the application faster than the G Power here on the left side, so as per rules, we know what's going to happen here. So as of right now, we have a bit of a surprise here. For some particular reason, we were having a struggle with the G Power on the left side with installing applications. I think it was a Wi-Fi issue, but I don't give any breaks here when it comes to speed tests like this because the G7 Power didn't have a problem and the G Power did. So this W, or this particular part of the speed test, has to go to the G7 Power. And so right now we have a score of 3 for the G Power and 1 for the G7 Power. Let's go ahead and get to the last part of this speed test and close this video out. So with this final part of the speed test here, what I'm going to be doing is just simply cutting the phones off and cutting them back on, or basically a restart test, to see which device can power on and power off first. Who do you think is going to win? Let me know in the comment section below before I get to the next part of this video here. I think it's going to be the G7 Power. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1. And I was correct. The G7 Power powered on faster than the Moto G Power of 2020 here. G7 Power turns on really fast. So did you think that was going to happen? I know for sure I didn't. I thought the G Power was going to for sure sweep the G7 Power, but when it comes to, I guess, certain things, not every device is going to be as fast as you think it is or going to be as slow as you think it is. But when the first test ended up happening here. I saw it on paper, of course, that the G7 Power is not going to have as good of specs as the G Power, so I knew for sure that the G Power was going to win that one. When it came to open up applications, I thought for sure the G Power right here was going to open up the applications faster than the G7 Power, so I ended up being right about that. So the score ended up going 2-0. Now in the third test, obviously, Geekbench and the 2-2 benchmark numbers, you have newer hardware in this device. That was probably going to be higher than the G7 Power as well. So I knew for sure 3-0 was going to happen in the first 3 tests. Now, when it came to the application install test, it may have been a Wi-Fi issue with the G Power, but the G7 Power didn't have any issues. And it ended up taking that one 2 out of those 3 applications that I was going to install. So the score ended up being 3-1. And for the final test, I knew for sure that the G Power wasn't like a fast booting up phone. And the G7 Power, even though it had that Verizon boot screen or that Verizon animation that's part of the boot screen, I knew for sure it was going to open up or restart faster than the G Power here. So not 100% surprised with what happened here, but it being 3-2 is a lot different than what I thought was going to happen, because I thought at least 5-0 or 4-1, but yeah, sometimes you end up getting surprised yourself. So if you guys like this video here, go ahead and give it a like. For sure, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future content on the G Power or even the G7 Power. But the most important thing I do need from you, if you can, of course, share this video with your friends and family and let them know that not all Android cameras suck. It is just not true. But until then, my name is Max Rock. Thank you for watching this video. Have a good day, y'all. Deuces.